For Stadio, a qualification isn't just a qualification. It's more students inspired to reimagine their possibilities. With 5 faculties, 10 campuses and over 50 accredited qualifications, undergraduate and postgraduate studies, contact, distance and blended learning, we're transforming higher education into something that's truly multi-faculty, multi-campus and multi-mode. Stadio, a new vision in higher education.
Bart, welcome. We said we're going to do the how to plan your kid's career. We're going to do in English. Our first episode was pick your school, pick the correct school for your kid at the stage where he is at. The second portion, and it's becoming, well, the appointment of an agent is becoming very, well, it's important, but it's becoming more and more important. The first question I want to know from you, at what age should you look to appoint an agent?
Carl, I think the more valid question is, if you as a parent feel that you cannot provide your kid with the correct guidance / career advice, who do I get or find to advise? And one's probably got to have to refer to the difference that we find out there in the market between so-called agents who can only really call themselves an agent once they have got the formal qualification through SARU structures, where you've got to write an exam and qualify through certain guidelines. It's not only about the exam, it's also about some experience that you have to have in the marketplace. So to be fully qualified to advise on all matters, including contractual matters, to be an agent. But there's a lot of the kids that's either being advised by close friends, parents, ex-players, etc. So it is about what the experience and the background of people in the industry is, what kind of advice the kid would need. So if we look at your question on at what age, you probably have to start thinking about if you have a very talented young rugby player that foresees himself playing professional rugby or making it a career. It's not unlikely that you have got to look at grade 10, grade 11 already for the right and real advice. But that does not mean it's got to be an agent. But eventually, you've got to combine the two issues where if you're being advised in terms of career path after school, it's most likely going to have to be a qualified agent.
There is, I don't know if it's still if it's still happening, but I mean at under 16, that's grade 10. Eh? Yeah,
that's right.
The unions already contract players on a junior contract.
Yeah, Carl, that's outside of legal procedures. So contracting of players can only take place after he's reached an age of 18 years old. So what happens with so-called junior players under 16, under 17 level, where there's a lot of focus, if it's a very talented young player, is that you can obviously negotiate with the parents, or parents can get in advice to assist with the young player's career planning. And then the parent would stand in as the legal guardian of a player like that. So no formal contract can be negotiated, although agents could go into an agreement with the parents to the player, where the parent then actually accepts the advice on a formal basis, but that's purely for involving someone more formally than not. The agreement is not a legally binding document that would hold the parent and or the players to certain aspects in the agreement. And unfortunately, that has been happening over the last 5 to 10 years even. Players have been put under emotional pressure, if not anything more than you've committed to me, so now you've got to sign with me once you turn 18. That's not the case, but saying that, obviously, if someone has been advising a youngster and his parents over a period of time, one would reckon that if they were happy or are happy with the advice being given, they would stick with the same agent if it's an agent and commit to him in terms of a mandate.
Okay, there's two different pathways, if I can. You get a rugby scout and you get a rugby agent. What's the difference between the two?
Carl, anyone can be a scout, and you can be a scout for an institution, whether it's a university, whether it's a scout that gives advice to even professional clubs and unions. You don't have to have a qualification. As a matter of fact, normally scouts get involved into an agency to become an agent. You would operate as a scout initially until you get your formal qualification, and you are formally accepted as an agent as well by the agent's board under directives of SARU in South Africa. So a scout can be an ex-player, can be a teacher, can be a mentor, or someone of some standing in society and in the industry that can give advice to parents and players, but that is basically what it is. A scout or so-called scout is legally not in a position to do any negotiations on behalf of the player or advise them in terms of any legal or contract aspects.
All right, but I mean, it's difficult because I sit next to a rugby field and I see a talented player and I'll pick up the phone and phone a university and that kind of stuff. But actually, it's not supposed to happen that way because, like you say, everybody can be a scout. And at this stage, especially for 2021, where it's becoming more and more doubtful if we'll see any rugby for schoolboys and children and that kind of stuff. The union is working, most of the unions has got their 4 or 5 agents they're working with. They're getting a list of the positions they're looking for and they negotiate or they ask. They depend on an agent, a registered agent, to go out and look for talent for them. Whereas a scout not normally he won't be contacted by a union.
Carl, not as a rule, no. But I'm the first one to say that you will find very knowledgeable people out there who does not have the incline of becoming an agent, doesn't want to be an agent, and never has the intention of becoming an agent, that really knows the game very well, studies the game, watches the game at all levels, especially at junior level. And I myself, as someone that's done professional contracting for years at a union, have made use of the opinion and the so-called expertise of people watching the game, because you cannot be and have eyes and ears at all games and watching all players at all time. So I would never go into a situation where I feel that if you're not an agent, you don't know the game. As a matter of fact, there's probably a lot more people knowing the game better than most of the agents. The mere difference here is that you've got to be open-minded, studying the game, listening to everyone, taking everyone's opinion, evaluating it, but you're not in a position to contractually and legally advise a player when he is underaged and or if you are not a qualified agent.
All right, so that's the two people you can talk to, is a scout and an agent. And you just said you find good agents and you find good scouts. What makes a good agent? What makes a good scout?
There's no doubt in my mind that we probably missed the boat a little bit when it gets to getting involved with a company or a specific agent. Purely for the reason that, unfortunately, I have to say that we have the situation out there that a young player has stars in his eyes, Carl. Young players and parents, for that matter. If you value my son and you show it either through, getting his name well known out there, or by making him feel that he's a champion, and it's an age-old thing. Giving someone a gift in the industry matters. And that is abused, unfortunately, due to the fact that a lot of the agents would go to young players, sign up a young player, because they have received a set of boots or sports shoes sponsored or for free. And that is the wrong reason. So I have to say that the moment that you as a parent and or player, because I believe that once an agent starts talking to a player, his parents have got to be part of the discussion. Not necessarily influencing it, but got to be part of that. They've been part of that boy's life for anything between 16 and 19 years. And therefore, they always need to look back at their parents and get final advice or opinion on certain things. So the parents have got to be part of that. So there's no way that the first question that needs to be answered is, what do I get out of this? And unfortunately, that happens. So a very good contract, a good junior contract, or freebies are often a deciding factor. And that should not be the case. In my mind, an agent should know what the personal and family situation of a player actually involves in his growth path going forward. There should be a sit-down discussion about where are we going from here. It doesn't have to do about my first contract. It's all about I can go either to a university, I can go into a study situation, I might not even end up in any formal rugby situation, but what is the plan thereafter? So you've got to know a player personally, get to know him and his family situation personally, because that would influence his growth going forward. And that should be the starting point. And therefore, that should be the first question that an agent should be able to answer is, what plans are we going to put in place? And then take it from there. Not what kind of contract or freebies I can receive.
So your first point of advice is, don't just sign the first contract that gets put in front of you. You must first meet with the agent. You must see if he really cares about your kid. And he must have knowledge of the system. And you mustn't be afraid to ask questions to the agent.
Carl, I want to go as far as to say that a parent must have the courage to ask the following question. And an agent must have the integrity to answer that. If my son don't pick you as his agent to go forward from here on in, who would be your number 2 and number 3 agent that you would recommend? It's as easy as that. and you've got to be able to give that advice to a parent. There's lots of very good agents out there. There is brilliant companies out there running and planning rugby players' careers in South Africa at the moment. So it's not a question that there's only one or two. We've got, you just go and have a look and do a little bit of research. If you are a parent, you will see players are in very good positions, irrespective of whether they're playing in South Africa or abroad. So that's not a problem. The issue here is, do I have someone starting off? The very, very good agents out there are not necessarily the right agent for your kid as an 18 or a 19-year-old. And that's the point I'm trying to make is, certain agents are very good. There's young agents out there in the market that that's just got a great rapport with young players, and have a great advisory structure. But you've got to ask the question, what is what my kid needs right now? Is it advice? Is it contract advice? Is it advice about his studies combined with where he's going to go as a rugby player? Or is it advice in terms of his personality? We've got to take him to the next level and he's got to grow mentally. Then that's the first thing we need to look at. And that to me is the big difference right now. It's not only about who can, again, like I say, if you go and you take the top Springboks and who represent them, you will end up with brilliant agents and advice out there. But are they really the best advice that your kid needs right now? That is a big question. So I understand the whole principle of loyalty. I'm a very strong advocate for that. If you end up with me and I advise you, I would like to think that we can go on for 10 years. But I have no doubt about it, that where I myself find myself as an agent right now, I'm not the best agent for most of the players out there. Purely for the reason that I don't have the experience. I don't have the international experience that would take a player to whatever he might think be the next level to him. But there are a certain group of players that needs advice in life that I absolutely know, that I've got the t-shirts in my cupboard, that I can share the right experience with them. And that's why I say, you cannot accept the fact that any agent will be the right agent for my kid for the next 10 years. You've got to do research, make sure what are the strong points of that agency and or the agents representing that agency. How well are they endowed to work with either juniors at the starting level? What do they do and what happens to their players after the first 3 years of junior contracts? Because that's normally the big question. Where's my son? Is he one of the cream of the crop, or is he one of the bubbling under players that's going to need to be nurtured for the next 3 to 4 years before he gets his opportunities? Those are the questions that a parent needs to ask, needs to do the research, and agents got to have the integrity to be honest with the parent to say, listen, I can help where I can help, I can advise where I can, but I don't think I'm the right person for your kid right now.
So what you say, you must find an honest agent. It's difficult because, Bart, I think what comes from our whole discussion is personal attention. Don't sign with the first agent. Give him time to establish his personal relationship with you. You will have a gut feeling soon, very soon. If this guy is a bullshitter, mag ek bullshitter sê? Yeah. Or if he's really genuine, trying to take your kid and take him for the next 4 or 5 years, his junior years, and develop him as a player. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of questions you must ask. You must ask questions. like Bart said, I don't think you must interfere with the actual negotiating with the unions and everything. But behind the scenes, you must ask a lot of questions. And if the agent starts dodging you here and there, then you know it's not the right agent for your guy. But at the end of the day, Bart, it's very easy. I mean, if the guys struggle to find a good agent, they can just contact you. Because, I mean, your track record is beyond any doubt. You care for children like we do here at Ruggers. And yeah, contact Bart. Any doubt, contact Bart. He's not a bad guy. Thank you so much.
Carl, I'd just like to end off with the last remark, in that if I say do your own research, information, legal information, documented information is accessible to every parent and even young rugby players out there. Experience has learned that players don't read. They don't get the information themselves, let alone their parents. So you can go to SARU's website and you can go and read up the full document in terms of the collective agreement that exists between, on the one side, the structures, and on the other side, the players' union, and with all the legal aspects which are based on international rugby or world rugby's guidelines. So you can therefore read up on every legal aspects that's available, and maybe start there as a parent before you even look at appointing an agent or getting your kid involved with an agent. So just doing a bit of basic reading is going to give you a lot of background information already, so that you understand. So unfortunately, I think we as parents are way too easy to back off and just to say, I don't know what's going on. I don't know the legal aspects. And I'm not saying you should take over in terms of advising on contractual and legal matters. It's quite a jungle out there. But there is no reason why you should not go and do some proper research yourself. And there's wonderful documents on World Rugby and SARU's website that you can get a lot of background information that will assist you in the end on making a decision and committing to an agent.
Great stuff. Thanks, Bart.
Thanks, Carl.